Welcome to the Project with Sam and Lewis, the podcast with the mission to cover every project throughout pop culture and history. I'm Sam.
And I'm Lewis.
And on today's exciting episode, we're going to be talking about the Ancient Aliens episode, The Hybrid Project.
Isn't it Project Hybrid?
Project Hybrid from 2019.
And calling it exciting is an interesting choice of words.
It's an exciting episode, not necessarily saying that was exciting.
Yes,
We've had a little preview, as usual, of both of our thoughts there. I mean, Lewis is more than mine, but...
I mean, it's about Ancient Aliens. People should probably know our thoughts on it before they've even started listening.
Absolutely. I love Ancient Aliens, so I'm very excited to talk about this today. And Lewis, not so much so.
I was actually really looking forward to watching this in like the build-up. Once you said, let's watch this, I was like, yeah, actually, this would be fun.
We after any, if you've listened to previous episodes, you'll know that Lewis has picked the last few, apart from the Adam Project, which was on the pulse kind of thing.
Reynolds chose that for us.
He did, yeah. And I sent you a selection, didn't I? And you were like, no, you just picked them. I don't want any responsibility for these ones. So we'll see how that goes. But before that, how are you, Lewis?
Yeah, not bad. Had a busy week at work. It seems like all work weeks are busy these days.
Work is just a busy time for a lot of people, which is
it may be sensitive with the fact that I took on some extra couple of responsibilities at work, and my busy week is just my standard week these days.
Yeah, one day you'll say, "Oh, I had a really relaxing week." When you have some holiday,
Turns out, I've been on holiday. How about you? How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, quite busy as well. Had quite a long day, so but not too bad. It's been sunny. I got to stand outside for a little bit today, part of my job in the sun, so I can't really complain about that.
I imagine you as one of those people like dressed up as a hot dog spinning a sign.
It's not far off from that, to be honest, but there's no elaborate costume anyway. Very kind of uniform, but it's been all right. I've been having an all right week, to be honest. Quite busy day tomorrow. I've got to go up to London for meetings and stuff, so that'll be fun. And but then it's the weekend, which I'm working in, so it doesn't really count. But
it's the weekend before payday, which is always the most boring weekend of the month.
Yeah, absolutely. But if you do want to skip through all this inane chatter here, you can use the time codes, which are in the episode description. I've remembered to say it this week, unlike last week.
Yeah.
And, you can skip ahead through project news, which is the next section, or you can skip straight to the very end and give us the download. That would be a weird choice because it's going to be an exciting episode. But if you want to do that, that's
you can hear my latest thoughts on Gilmore Girls if you go to personal projects.
Or as we're going to call it, Gilmore Boys.
Gilmore Boys.
But project news, Lewis, what is the dealio with that?
So, as always, I've simply stuck the word project into Google, gone on the news tab, and picked out two stories that took my fancy.
Do you put a blindfold on and just kind of pin the tail on the donkey?
There's a lot of job adverts for like project manager.
You could just read them out. Does anyone in the local Brighton area want to be a project manager?
Yeah, they're not even like local ones. They're literally all over. It's really weird.
Well, that's good because we've got a very wide listenership.
And I do have some standards. I didn't do the one about Peter Andre potentially being in Hollyoaks.
Well, speaking of Hollyoaks, we watch it every day before we start recording, don't we?
Watching is but anyway, let's do this
Keep
first
on
bit
track
of news.
for this one, yeah.
Nova project reportedly in the works for the MCU.
Yeah.
This is from IGN. Richard Rider will join the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Rider,
So they're apparently adding Nova to an unknown project. Currently being penned by Moon Knight writer Sabir Perzada.
Okay, cool.
They don't know if it's going to be a TV series or a movie yet.
Yeah. I'd imagine an intro in a movie like a Guardians or something.
Yeah. But the fact that it's written by the guy that did Moon Knight.
Yeah.
Maybe it's TV.
I was looking into Moon Knight recently because, as I've said on the pod, I'm quite excited about the upcoming series there. And I was actually looking into who was involved in it. So that is interesting. That's worked out very...
Yeah. So Kevin Feige originally said that Nova was going to be in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right.
And then wasn't, which makes sense with the Nova Corps and stuff. but I guess they wanted to save him for like his own property.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because we've had the Nova Core, as you said, but there wasn't any indication in that of because it's a special artifact helmet thing that gives the human rocket kind of powers. Cosmic. It's a bit kind of Captain Marvel-y, really. Maybe that's why they didn't really introduce it. But the basic concept's quite similar. But as we've seen from Ms. Marvel stuff, they seem to be doing little alterations on powers to try and make it like fresh and not too similar to other stuff. But having said that, there's so many characters in Marvel, comics that have pretty similar powers. It's going to get to the point where it's just, you can fly and shoot stuff. Sorry,
it'll become more about like the character, than like the power.
But Moon Knight is coming out as of recording about a week or so. I think it's next week.
Yeah, I'm quite looking forward to it. I've managed to avoid everything.
Yeah, there hasn't been much. I've watched some of the bigger trailers, but I don't really know what's going on in it. I've been reading Moon Knight. I was going to talk about some of it in personal projects, so I've kind of gone back to that. But
nice.
Yeah, hyped about that. So yeah.
So the other news section, which may be connected from Giant Freaking Robot.
Ooh, GFR.
Exclusive.
Ooh.
Tom Cruise officially joins Marvel Universe. Upcoming project in the works.
Wow. Okay. Because there was rumors. Did you hear anything about the Doctor Strange rumors?
So it mentioned in here that he may be playing a multiverse version of Tony Stark.
Superior Iron Man.
Because he was rumored to play Iron Man.
Yeah, you see occasionally these cast lists for if the MCU had happened in the 90s, earlier 2000s kind of thing. And often he's quoted as the Iron Man, the Tony Stark, because I think he was in the running at one point. Yeah.
There's a line in here that made me laugh saying, Giant Freaking Robot has the exclusive from our trusted and proven source that Tom Cruise has joined the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Right. And I was like, really? It's a surprise that they've got the exclusive. But
I mean, there are a couple of like MCU leakers. There's one called like Daniel something that they are kind of proven. They've got a track record. They haven't named it. Then maybe they're trying to keep them private or whatever. But it's interesting. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they give Robert Downey Jr. a break, introduce an evil Iron Man in Multiverse of Madness, and then maybe make him like a bad guy for a couple of films or something.
So this article seems to think that's most likely.
And then you bring Robert Downey Jr. in at the end to save the day, kind of thing. That would make sense.
But could Tom Cruise be Nova potentially?
Yeah, I guess
see it? I
the thing is, so a lot of the Nova stuff that is popular now, at least from what I'm aware of, is the young Nova, which is Nova's son. I think it's Sam Ryder, maybe, or Sam something else.
Right.
And he's more of like a Young Avengers. I can't remember what their name is, but there's a name for like Ms. Marvel, Miles Morales, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It's basically Young Avengers Champions, I think it might be. So I wouldn't be surprised if, they use the dad Nova for a film, kill him off so that Tom Cruise doesn't have to commit. And then his son gets the helmet.
See, that's the thing. I can't kind of imagine Tom Cruise being a long-lasting character in the MCU.
I think he's quite... Well, he is proven to be he likes his creative control with stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't think he would sign on, like you say,
which is why, like, his long-lasting franchises, like Mission Impossible, he basically decides what he wants to do.
I think he owns it, doesn't he? I'm pretty sure he bought the rights out.
Oh,
pretty
right,
much.
yeah.
Like, creative control-wise, like, he gets in directors, but I think he does about 50%.
I imagine he had a lot of input on the new Top Gun film as well.
Yeah, which we may cover for Silver Screen.
Oh,
yeah.
Project Maverick.
I mean, yeah. We could stray into working titles for things if we run out of content.
Untitled Indiana Jones
Project.
Film. Oh yeah, project.
Missed the mark there, didn't you?
Yeah, I kind of forgot about what our whole deal is.
What's the deal with this?
What's the deal with the project? The kids, I hear kids are saying it to their friends in the playground. What's the deal with the project?
That's what all the comments on TikTok are. I just don't understand what the deal is with this project. Well, if you listen to the start of any episode, I explain it at the start.
Hashtag what's the deal with the project? Get it out there.
That's the new hashtag. There.
So, Ancient Aliens?
Ancient Aliens, specifically, what is it? Project Hybrid? Then?
Project Hybrid.
I've written down the Hybrid project.
It's Project Hybrid. So, season 14,
Yeah.
episode 10 from the 9th of August, 2019.
That's right. So, a couple of years old now.
Yeah, I've got the Google description here in front of me for this episode in particular. I think
Lovely.
everyone kind of knows the deal of Ancient Aliens.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, there's a couple of recurring cast members or talking heads, but a lot of it is, it's this idea of the ancient astronauts.
Yeah.
They call them, they're like, we're ancient astronaut theorists and we believe this stuff.
Aliens have always been around.
A lot of it is they'll show a historical thing and then be like, but what if this was really aliens?
I watched a video on YouTube actually, which was the history of mankind according to ancient aliens. It's like 20 minutes putting all their theories together.
Oh God, that must be.
It's mental.
Like a patchwork of just.
It's absolutely mental.
I mean, a lot of it goes back to, they always go, oh, the Sumerians did this, and there's all these people.
Yeah.
A lot, like this episode in particular, obviously we're going to get into it in more detail, but there was a lot of stuff which I felt like I'd seen in other episodes and clips I'd seen before.
Yeah.
It wasn't exactly a unique.
When I looked up this episode, a lot of comments on it were like, most of this episode's just rehashed from other episodes.
Yeah, it felt like that. And there was a lot of stuff where they just talk about alien abductions for like 20 minutes. It's like, that's not really what this episode should be about. But
Google says extraterrestrials could be altering human DNA and repopulating the Earth with alien-human hybrids. Following the trail of evidence from ancient cultures to modern day animal mutilations and alien abductions.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that is exactly what it goes through,
I kind of, the more I was kind of watching it, I realized my notes were going towards like as if we were watching a sci-fi film rather than a documentary.
Yeah. I can see that. I mean, I've got, compared to our last few things, fairly sparse notes on this. I mean, it is a 45-minute episode.
Yeah.
So it's about half what we normally cover for a feature length thing.
Yeah, so
it moves quick though, doesn't it?
So quick.
I kept pausing it to write down like the locations and times of these things, which to be honest weren't really relevant.
But also, like they put the location on the screen and then they'd read it out as well. And I was
but they read it out after, so the location disappears, and then I'm like, oh fuck, I missed it, and then it reads it out. Like, okay, quickly.
So I didn't get too much on the behind the scenes people. It's obviously famously the History Channel.
Yes, which is the
no longer about history
thing. One of the people that everyone that everyone will recognize is Giorgio A. Tsoukalos, who's Greek American.
The meme of aliens.
He looks like, well, at one point he looked like if Chandler was fucked up, and now he looks kind of like how Chandler looks now. What's he called? Matthew Perry.
Matthew Perry. If he'd like been electrocuted.
If he'd been electrocuted, and if he'd got addicted to psychotropic drugs instead of painkillers.
Oh,
I know, it's really sad. I was sad while I was making that joke. I was like, but do you know what I mean? He looks. I really like him as well. He doesn't look quite as. He's clearly had an easier life than Matthew Perry. Let's put it that way. He doesn't look as weathered. He just looks like he's stoned off his face, basically, doesn't he? Which a lot of the people in this seem like they're not quite on this planet, as to put it lightly.
So the final thing is that it's got an IMDb rating of 7.0.
Nice. I think we should now just put bets on whether, or I'll put bets on whether it's 7 or not.
Yeah, but if we're actually gonna like bet, you're definitely gonna look it up beforehand. And
then no. I mean, I won't bet money because I don't have any money. Got a couple of pound coins dotted around, but I promised them to Lewis. So I can get the bus home.
The life of podcasting. It doesn't. If you want to get into podcasting, make sure you've got a hefty savings account.
Yeah.
But let's get into the episode.
So we get like a really quick kind of crazy intro that it's all very sensationalist, isn't it? And there's lots of big questions. It reminded me of the Mitchell and Webb. Was it called Big News or Big Questions?
Yeah, the big. Okay, so this episode in general reminded me of a certain Mitchell and Webb sketch. Which is the gift shop sketch.
Yeah, the gift shop sketch.
Where it's like, I'm coming to buy a gift for my aunt. What's he going to do next? Next time on the gift shop sketch. And then
and we see the next like 5 seconds of dialogue. And then
Yeah.
recap, because it's constantly recapping.
it's that. And you can kind of tell there's an ad break every like 8 or 9 minutes.
But also, so I've written at some point in my notes that it's basically, it's really good like TV if you're not really paying attention, because you don't have to follow it.
You could so easily zone out though and just have no idea what I'm talking about.
It's partly for people who, you know, are a little bit brain dead, to be honest, to put it like nicely, or people who are like stoned off their mind. It's kind of catering to those kind of audiences. So you're like, hang on, what? This is aliens? And then it's like, this was all because of aliens, maybe. And you're like,
it's like,
oh yeah,
but why is this? Was it because of aliens? And you're like, no.
It always follows the pattern of, here's a thing that's real, and we're like, okay, that's interesting. And then it's like, but it might also be aliens. And you're like, alien. Right.
It's so like
it does
nonsensical.
that about 15 times throughout, but we get
so
it's alien genetic experiments, isn't it? Is kind of the
so they're talking about alien human hybrid and how it could be the end of humankind.
It's very doomsday kind of big questions. They say, could this signal the end of humankind?
And then we get like the intro, which I wrote down. So I thought it was brilliant. It's like there is a doorway. Behind is the promise of truth. You must question everything. Evidence is all around us. The future is in front of our eyes. We are not alone.
And then it says, we have never been alone. And then it comes up, ancient aliens.
It's like a piss take. Like,
it feels like,
I can't believe these people are genuine about this.
You know the Futurama episode where they do the Twilight Zone?
The scary door.
Like, the intro is so... Even it says there's a doorway in the universe. It's so silly. And then it comes up, Project Hybrid. And then we launch straight into...
Luzon Island, Philippines.
2019.
And they're talking about different species that Homo sapiens like kind of took over. So they first talk about, they discovered the Homo luzonensis.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
that existed 67,000 years ago and evolved isolated on the Philippines.
Yes, there wasn't a land bridge, so it's kind of like a little case study of how things happen.
A lot of this is talking about how there was several different Homo species.
Yeah, hominids.
Yeah, that's a better way of putting it.
I mean, they wouldn't have got very far if they were just Homo species, would
they? And they're like, oh, what's this about? It's a big part of this episode is, why is there multiple species? And I'm like, is this your basis? Like,
it's kind of ignoring evolution a lot. It's very anti-evolution, actually, now that I think about it, isn't it? Yeah.
And there's lots of species of like dogs. Is that aliens too?
Well, the way they go with this, they go, why is it that Homo sapiens survived? They're like, why? And then someone comes, I think it's Giorgio or whatever he's called, pops in and goes, could it be aliens? It's literally that.
Yeah.
And then they're talking about extraterrestrial interferences, I think he says. Maybe extraterrestrials interfered with our progress.
Yeah. And so like there's lots of different hominids, was it?
Hominids, yeah. They did mention that word though. I've written it down.
Yeah, and now there's one. So they're like, it's because of aliens.
But
then they're like, are others enhanced?
Yeah.
Let's say we're advanced because they talk about, I think it's a bit later on.
That's right.
Neanderthals.
Yeah, they talk about that.
Had bigger brains and were bigger and stronger. So how was it that we like conquered them?
Yeah, I don't know where that is because I wrote that down as well. Maybe that's way later.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
It's all nonsense.
Yeah, and then it just it talks. So it has like, there's really funny visuals in this. So a lot of it is stock footage.
Quite like some of the visuals are quite high production quality,
but a lot of it's like Getty Images. Like they've paid for like high stock footage video thing.
This is 45 minutes. About 15 minutes of that is the talking head. And the other half an hour is just images flashing on the screen.
Yeah. It's so crazy. And like they so when they're talking about the hominids and the family tree kind of thing, it shows this family tree. And then when it says about aliens, it like crosses them all out and it says prototype.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is insane. Like it is proper like our audience is
Oh.
stoned off their mind kind of
Yes.
thing. Like I literally was thinking, like, I had like a little bit of a drink while I was watching it, and I was like, I am not the audience that they are looking
Oh,
for
yeah.
with this.
I was waiting for this episode to be over.
Then they move, obviously, as they always do. They say ancient astronaut theorists
Yeah.
Was
They-
it posturite? Hypothesize.
Hypothesize? I love that they constantly talk about ancient alien theorists as if that's a respected field.
No, it's literally just them.
It's just them.
It's Giorgio and then the British guy who sounds like he's had a lobotomy.
Oh, it's called a Brummie accent, Sam.
It's not just that. No.
He is, but they've got another British guy who used to work for the Ministry of Defence.
Is that the grey-haired guy?
Yeah.
Who's in the conference later?
Quite possibly.
And in the conference, he's like, wow, everyone's got their talking about.
But they've also got someone with like a PhD, and they've got someone who like teaches physics at a university.
I think they have people on as, I think they've told them that they're going to be the voice of reason. So they'll have like a physics guy who says something that's true, but they put it in as if it's like evidence for something else.
Right.
And they put him in, and he's like, well, it is true that we evolved from these things. And then they're like, this guy says it's true, which means that aliens did it, kind of thing. Like, I know I keep doing that bit, but that is literally this episode.
Yeah, so we first go to the ancient Sumerians.
Yeah, as they always, it's their first point of everything.
Yeah, and they talk about
Anunnaki or something they're called.
Anunnaki,
who
are like a group of people who are like almost worshipped, who
they're
could
kind
fly,
of like angels, aren't
yeah,
they?
they could fly. They had long heads. They were very wise, and
6,000
they're like
BC.
These people were genetic experimentation. Like throughout this episode, it's like there's no such thing as mythology.
Well, I think
it's all aliens.
I think the Anunnaki are supposed to be aliens.
Yeah,
because they say that
according
they have
to these guys,
wings or flying machines, and then they zoom in on like a sculpture that's like a guy in a little like boat. And it's like, this is definitely an alien, not a guy in a boat.
Yeah. And they're like, these are clearly aliens visiting these early civilizations and guiding them.
Yeah. But it's like, yeah, they constantly talk, and you know, there's some interesting stuff in that they don't really touch on in this, but there's interesting stuff with like shared iconography across different cultures.
Yeah.
And I do find a lot of that stuff really interesting. Even like
but not for the reasons they find it interesting.
But even the stuff like dragons are a mythology that's shared across all cultures, and they're
but then a lot of it is like logical of like
they found dinosaur bones.
Or like we know about lizards and we know about birds. What if they combine those a big one?
And it's the thing, like the next part that we get onto, they're like, why is there a dog-faced human? And it's like, well, either some guy wanted to draw it or they didn't know how to draw a dog's face.
Yeah.
It's
like we've seen like medieval art of like, like
horses were drawn.
Horses.
Horses look like I don't know, they look like something from Fantastic Beasts.
Yeah.
Which we are now doing a Silver Screen project.
Check out the upcoming Silver Screen project. But yeah, and like there's a similar thing. They don't mention this, but when they're like, oh, there's pyramids all over the world, that's not a coincidence. Like, or maybe a pyramid's the easiest shape to build something in.
Well, according to people who don't believe in other cultures, it's impossible for anyone to build a pyramid. Just because I, a white man in the 21st century, couldn't do it.
It's a very like racist take.
It's a very racist take. It's very racist. I spoke to this guy. Okay, I went traveling. I was in South America.
Oh.
I spoke to this American guy, and he was telling me about. He was from California, and he was very into his psychotropics. Let's just say that. And he said he'd been on a tour of alien sites in South America, and he was telling me about these things. He was going, "There's just no way that humans could build this." And I was just thinking the whole time, just because there's no way that a man who's in his early 20s from Southern California knows how to build it, it doesn't mean that nobody could. Like, there's proof that Egyptians were better at maths than people like 200 years later.
And the Romans had a form of concrete that we lost the recipe for and have never rediscovered.
Absolutely,
People make discoveries, and
also lost quite often.
Also, how do you build these great structures with thousands and thousands of slaves?
Yeah, and that's the answer.
You can do anything with thousands and thousands of slaves. Like, come on.
Yeah.
You created an entire country called the United States of America with thousands and thousands of slaves.
And also, our country didn't not benefit from slavery.
I'm aware it's a very hypocritical take.
But the US also,
Yeah.
Grr.
If as terrible as our country is, the one thing we like to do is pretend we're better than America.
Yeah. And
Anyway.
we are, so, you know.
Yeah. So yeah, their point about the Anunnaki is that they were making hybrids to carry the Anunnaki line, because they were dying out for whatever reason.
I was like, what's the Anunnaki line? Is that
Like,
is that an artifact?
Oh,
Couldn't remember the word.
yeah, and they talk about how other species have failed hybrids, and the Homo sapiens were the successful ones.
Yeah, that's the idea. It's also that's very like we're the best kind of thing,
Yeah.
which you know we did end up being the best.
Yeah,
Hominid
what Homo
species.
sapiens?
All about those homos.
And then we get Mosul, Iraq, 1845.
Yeah, that's right. I think we need to do the voices now, don't we? So
Yeah,
we can take it in turns.
So yeah, they excavated an unearthed obelisk.
Black limestone obelisk.
Yes, and it made me laugh because you can't really excavate something that isn't unearthed.
Well, yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
And
I mean, it could have been excavated by an earthquake, but then it's just
this-
uncovered, isn't it?
So yeah, on this obelisk there is hybrid creatures that are half animal, half human. It's like dogs with human heads, and they're held by like ropes and chains. And they're like, maybe this was a failed attempt of
Yeah,
hybridization,
that's right.
or maybe they just can't draw.
That's exactly what I've got. Maybe people couldn't draw animals over it.
Or it could also they could just be slaves that they were like
There was
Dehumanizing,
lowly as
like-
dogs. Yeah. The thing is that these people don't seem to understand. These people, the human dogs, the people who make this program don't seem to understand is that just because something is drawn or written, it doesn't mean it's true.
Yeah.
Fiction has been a thing for forever.
Forever, yeah.
People didn't just come up with fiction in the 20th century.
I might draw a picture of like a human head on like a snake and send it to them and be like, look, aliens.
It's like, look, like the thing is,
they're doodles.
The way
They're
that they're
ancient
looking
doodles.
at it is like if people in 60,000 years looked back and went like saw Godzilla film and went, oh, well, it's weird that we don't find any bones of this giant creature that terrorized Tokyo. It's like, yeah, because it was made up.
Yeah.
Like it's as simple as that.
And I don't know if it's this, but they then talk about like centaurs.
Yeah, this is now they go, it's all, again, they go, it's cross other cultures. They go centaurs, they go Naga from the Hindu culture,
Yeah, but
they
like
Horus from Egyptian culture. And then this German guy, I think he's German, apologies if he's not, like an old white guy is like talking about genetical design. And I know his English isn't his first language, but I just couldn't. He says that so many times, genetical design. I'm like, somebody please just correct him. So that this doesn't seem
at
stupid.
first I thought you were going down he's German
Oh, no.
eugenics route, and I was like,
Wow.
whoa.
The German eugenics route. No,
You
not
never
at
go
all.
down the German eugenics route, Sam.
Well, you just opened the scary door there.
Yeah, and they the scary door. They talk about how Muhammad's horse had a
Yeah,
face.
I didn't write that one down, but yeah. That's,
Okay, thanks for the update on what you did and didn't write
I'll
down.
tell you if I didn't write something down. No.
And yeah, they talk
And then
about
they
genetic
end it
design.
with like a big like, and why is this kind of thing? I've got lots of
and
whys.
then it's like, so far on Ancient Aliens, we've talked
Yeah.
about
And we get the-
ancient
the
animals.
gift shops.
Next time on Ancient Aliens, we'll talk about animal mutilation. Come back and join us when we talk about.
To be fair, like as you said, commercials in on US channels, it's quite regular.
Yeah.
And as I said, if people have kind of low attention spans for whatever reason, whether they're like that or they've made it themselves like that with substances, they might need a little preview to keep them, from going to Taco Bell or whatever. It's
So,
a
yeah,
stereotype, but that's what this is all about.
Then we get the next
which is segment.
I was going to say
Segment.
next historical
Title.
area.
Oh yeah, well it's animal mutilation. They suddenly announced they're talking about,
Yes.
and it's Moscow,
Moscow.
1954. I don't know what that's true. It's kind of a 50s voice there, yeah.
Yeah, they also do say Soviet Union.
Yeah, but I didn't write
because
that,
make the point
You
that
have
it was
to say.
the dirty
to be fair,
commies.
this is kind of intense, and I'd seen this before, but
Yeah.
they're talking about a controversial organ transplant, which is a dog's head being put onto another dog's
It was
body.
Vladimir Demikov.
So it's a two-headed dog, basically.
Yeah,
but
and we
it's
see
not
the pictures.
really, is it? It's like a half puppy, like sewn on. And they talk about it as one of the guys, I think it's the British guy, says like it's like a chimera kind of thing. And it really does look like that. It looks like a kind of messed up. And there's a photo of him like feeding it. It's like that thing's not eating anything. You're just holding a bottle up to its mouth.
Yeah, and like they are both alive, but it's like that.
Yeah,
that probably was dead within an hour.
They said it was like its arteries were like connected to the other dog's heart. So one dog is pumping for two brains basically, which is just not
a good idea.
It's not made for it,
But they say this is proof that scientists can play God.
Well, they say as well, this may seem like the work of a mad scientist, and I'm like, well, yeah, it literally is. This is literally the work of a mad. There's also, did you ever see? There's like I can't remember if it was in the Soviet Union. I think it was. There was like experiments with chimps and like chimp human hybrids, but they did it through like insemination instead.
Yeah, it rings a bell.
I don't know how successfully it really went, but there was like they would get women and like harvest their eggs. It's very like
they kind of talk about something similar on this, but
a bit later. But this was more like dark science Soviet era shit.
So actually the next bit is that scientists have gone further today, mixing animals with humans, and they talk about in 2003 in China
there's a lot of
they made a human rabbit hybrid embryo.
They
don't go any further than that, so I presume that embryo never made it to anything else.
I think with things like cloning and stuff like that, now there's laws against it, so I think they can do the initial part, but they have to terminate.
I imagine China may be a bit more lax. Well,
they talk
scientific
it might be in that bit where they talk about the twins that they did something to their genetics, and they were born. You can see the picture of them. Is that in this section?
I think that is the next bit. They genetically edited babies in China.
What did they do to them genetically?
I don't know. They just
edited them,
edited their DNA.
Maybe it was like eye color, because this design of babies has been a thing for like 10 years or 20 years.
I think it comes from that.
It's that kind of thing.
And they also mentioned how they had a pig with human blood.
That's weird, isn't it?
But
they drain all its blood out.
Does it make any difference?
No, because you have pig heart. So they also
you have a pig heart.
No, they talk about things like head transplants, and I don't know. I saw something recently about like pig hearts, but I thought that was a thing that people did already.
I think they did an experiment. I know. Somebody got a pig heart and died in like a month. Fairly recently, I think.
That's what I was thinking. Because I think I'm getting confused, because there's a book called Pig Heart Boy, which is about that happening, but I don't know.
It's probably fiction.
It's a child's story, like Mallory Blackman or so, like young
fiction. Then,
so I think it's fiction, but I think I just assumed that was real because I'm stupid.
But anyway, they say they can play with DNA and they can transplant human heads if they want.
Well, that's another thing, because I thought that happened at some point as well, but I must be getting confused.
And then they go back to these ancient carvings, especially this human dog things. Like you can see the stitches around the neck. Clearly they're
wearing like collars of some sort, aren't they?
And like centaurs, like around the waist is where they stitched them onto a horse. That's how they exist.
When they talk about that, this is the bit where they go, what appear to be human-faced dogs may really be like human-faced dogs. God, who's writing this stuff?
They're saying that like aliens did this genetic experimentation, and the project is still underway.
Still underway. So now we go to the San Luis Valley,
Colorado, 1967. There's a dead horse
called Lady
that is then
misidentified as like Snoopy or something.
Snipper. So I was like, that's ironic. So it looks like it's had its head snipped off. Basically, it's like this dead horse.
It's the King Amil Ranch I've written here,
and like the horse's body is like fine. But like from the neck up, it's literally bare to the bone.
It is weird. Like
it is weird. I question how real the picture is.
Well, I mean, there are a lot of occasions of this kind of thing reportedly happening, and they talk about it in this. But the thing is, it's like a lot of it. They basically what they say is like it looks like the blood was drained. There's no blood in the area. There's no tracks, and it was potentially
Yeah.
like removed with heat. And then people are talking about lasers and stuff. But realistically, I mean, part of the headlines that you see is this a cult or is it aliens? Because those are the two big things going on
Yeah.
in the 60s, which fair enough. But the thing is, somebody
Probably a cult.
somebody could kidnap the horse, cut all its head off, get the blood all washed out, and then bring the body back and leave it
Yeah.
there. There's no reason why that couldn't happen, and everyone's
Yeah.
completely overlooking that.
And they talk
fact.
about identical slaughters where organs have been removed from these animals, and it's like probably sold on the black market.
Absolutely, yeah. There's basically they go into saying like this was common, and I put in inverted
Yeah.
commas because it's common across the American heartland in this period. So lots of ranches and stuff in this kind of late 60s were experiencing this. But as we say, there are explanations for
Yeah.
this. I would find it very interesting if it was the case.
Yeah.
But there are.
And then we get the woman.
Oh, the woman. I
who
didn't write
says,
down who she
I
was.
literally interviewed thousands of people
Yeah.
who said around these animals they saw lights and beams of light, and a beam of light on an animal and then it died, or the animal
it
being
was
lowered to the
lowered
ground.
down. Yeah.
And it's like, I don't believe you spoke to literally thousands of these people.
Well, if she has, my note here says that she's wasted her life because she is supposedly a journalist.
Yeah.
But she is the biggest, like, she's one of the most intense believers that we get.
Yeah,
in
and
this.
what's sad is that she's probably richer than we'll ever be.
Well, I know where we're pivoting this podcast, whether you like it or not.
So
Lewis.
I genuinely believe that aliens took the horse's head here.
Yeah, me
and
too.
Did all these.
That's what I said. If you heard otherwise, then it was the aliens.
It was
that were-
satire.
No, it was aliens. They must have been messing with the airwaves.
Yeah, everything we've said so far is satire to take a piss of those non-believers.
Totally, yeah. Blue Book was like that was to get you hooked. When we
I
did
thought
that,
they were going to mention Blue Book at one
we
point.
did that in
this.
episode 3. 3?
It was early. It was early.
4. Episode 4. 3 was Project A. When we did that, that was the teaser for where we're really getting.
Yeah.
Now we're on episode 34, I think.
Bloody hell.
34, yeah. Now we're on episode 34. We're going to really hit the ground running. That's us running really slowly.
Sounds like you clapping. Yeah, moving on.
They say that humans share 80% of DNA with cows. So maybe the aliens, are getting our DNA from cat. No, they're not getting it from cows. They're experimenting on cows so they can improve us or something like that.
Oh no, that bit's later on because I did have a note on that.
Yeah.
Where am I at on my notes?
They talk about they say we're 96% with chimps. There's all this stuff they go through. I only wrote down the cows one because it's the only one that was actually relevant to the story.
And I think it was later on. Oh yeah, that is later on. Anyway, they're basically saying something's harvesting these body parts. I'm like, yeah, something is people,
humans.
Yeah, and then we get the whole Boston, Massachusetts. 1965.
Well, just before that, to go back, you can do it again, Lewis.
Okay, let's do it again.
We get the British guy who you said he's Brummy, but
I actually looked him up. He's from Walsall.
I think his accent was quite general. It didn't feel super Brummy to me.
I thought he was. I was like this because all the others are American accents or a posh British guy.
Yeah.
And you get this one really strong Brummy accent who's from Walsall, which is basically Birmingham. It's says, Nick Redfern.
Yes. He says, he's like, what are their motivations? Well, so far they haven't destroyed us.
Yeah.
And this is when I thought that he sounded either stoned or brain damaged. And I didn't mean because he's Brummy. And there's a lot of very unfounded theorizing here as well. And then we cut to
Boston, Massachusetts, 1965.
Perfect.
And there's been an alien abduction.
Yeah, but it's actually a very famous case, the Betty and Barney Hill case.
And my take from that was that, a mixed race couple in the 60s
was abducted. Yeah.
I was like, maybe They were just attacked.
Well, I actually know a little bit about this.
Oh, okay.
And it actually took place in 1961, so I don't know why they were talking about this.
God.
I don't
You're
know
saying
how
they got their facts wrong.
Yeah,
oh my
so,
God.
You know, it was the only chip in the old armor of the ancient aliens, to be fair. Everything else is spot on. But yeah, it was they went missing for a couple of days. I have got it open in front of me, but it's also I know a lot about it already. But they went missing for a couple of days, and they were one of the biggest alien abduction case, like the first one that made news and stuff. Partly also probably because they were a mixed race couple, and one of them, I think it was Betty. She dies quite young from things like cancers and stuff, and it's that kind of thing of like, was radiation involved and all that sort of thing. He lived quite a long time. I might be getting the wrong way around, but they did like regression therapy. Maybe he died early. He died early. She survived him.
Right.
And they did like regression therapy, which we see in this. And there's all these stories. Oh, I got abducted, all this sort of stuff. But they were big members of like this whole community of like, especially her because she survived him. Of like, yeah, we got abducted basically. They're like the godfathers of being abducted basically. They made all this shit up for everyone else basically.
So then they get there's more reports and they talk to various people who got abducted.
Yeah.
And they're like DNA's taken from bodies and experimented. And they call the aliens the Greys.
Yeah, they say about like small figures with black eyes that are surrounding people, and it's the Greys, which is the classic. If you imagine a picture of like a cartoon alien, it's basically that. Isn't
it? Greys is also a good album by Frightened Rabbit. You should check it out.
It's also a pub in Brighton, I think.
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't get too much in this bit. I don't know if I got bored or if there wasn't much to say.
There's stuff about blood type.
Oh no, that's coming up because I wrote. That's the next bit. So the next bit,
they introduce it by saying like, "Is blood
they
type?"
introduce it by going, "New York City, New York, 1940."
Yeah,
and they talk about the scientist Cole
Landsteiner,
yeah. Who discovered a protein on red blood cells, which was the RH.
RH, and it's basically it determines. Well, he discovered blood types, didn't he? Basically, like the A, B, O, all that.
Some of this was quite interesting, apart from the weird conspiracy shit.
they do like a 5-minute interesting bit, and then they go, and then there's this bullshit on top.
So it's like whether you have a positive or negative blood type.
That's right. It's all the antibodies on the outside of the cell.
Science doesn't know why people have blood types. It's like, I guess we don't, but it's not aliens.
I guess. Yeah, this is where I've written that they start with some solid science or history, and then they handbrake turn into alien theorizing.
Yeah. It's like the immune system attacked. Oh yeah.
Yeah, this was intense. Right. I don't think this is true.
No,
is it?
So this bit, right, is fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
Right. So
it would affect so many people.
Right. So if you have like a father that's got a positive blood cell, and a mother who's got a negative. I was
gonna say, is she just a woman or is she the mother as well?
A woman who's got a negative blood type, and then the baby's got a positive blood type.
Yeah, basically
from her father.
Yeah.
Then her immune system attacks the baby. And she needs to take medicine.
That sounds wrong. Right?
And also, like, how have humans survived this long if half the babies are attacked by immune systems?
Yeah.
Like they say, only medicine can fix it. When was this medicine invented? Like, presumably in the last 100 years? Like the giving birth has gone so far in the last 100 years. He's saying before that, it was just like, well, don't fuck a guy who's got a different blood type to you. We don't know what blood types are, so just don't have a baby.
I hate to break it to you, Liz, but it's true.
What? This is mental.
This is the extent of our knowledge about female reproductive organs.
Or just explain it to me.
Rhesus disease is a condition where antibodies in a pregnant woman's blood destroy her baby's blood cells.
Okay, so it's a condition. It's not. It always happens.
Rhesus disease only happens when the mother has rhesus negative blood, which is RH, which is the RH negative, and the baby has RH positive.
Right, but they seem to imply this happened to every baby. You seem to be saying it's a condition.
It's more specific. Basically, it's something called sensitization has to happen. So either a previous pregnancy
Right.
or
So
but
I stand by my little rant there.
and you can get a blood test beforehand which will and they can use a medication which they mentioned there, but yeah, you're absolutely right. The way that it implied it was if there was this combination, like, you're fucked basically.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, to be fair, there's a lot of stuff with human fertility which it was a bit of a gamble before science.
Yeah.
But not to the degree that. But then they talk about it as well. They say that negative blood types are like 2 to 5% of the population. So it,
But if it was that it was always a problem, they always died, the negative blood type would have died out.
Yeah, probably, yeah. Unless it was the other way around.
Yeah, whatever. But one of them would have died out.
No, the mum has negative and the baby has positive. So
yeah,
it
but
wouldn't have,
then they obviously they're talking about this stuff and then turn it to aliens, and they say when they talk about those who have been abducted, 4 out of 10 would say they are RH
like,
negative.
from the people that we talk to, it may be the case that, which is also 4 out of 10 is not that high.
Yeah, I thought that until they said that it's
2%.
2%.
Yeah, but
so 4 out of 10. But also, like, what is you? Did you ask like 10 people?
That's the thing. Yeah, it's
yeah.
the sample size. It's not very well. I was about to say it's not very scientific, but
Whoa,
I feel like that might be treading on old Giorgio's toes there.
Yeah, and they talk about how in the Basque Country in Spain they've got the most RH negative people on Earth. So like over 50% people are RH negative, despite the rest of the world being 2 to 3%.
Which is really interesting.
That is interesting, and I know the Basque Country does have like its own history and stuff. So it wouldn't surprise me if they had their own like
but they say, don't
evolution
they, like,
type thing.
They're like, oh, maybe like early man was all negative, and that's because aliens made them.
Yeah,
and it's like, are you also saying that
people just didn't like aliens?
Are you saying that Basque people are
less evolved?
Yeah, it's like a little bit.
Yeah,
I mean, they might be. I've never been, don't know anything about them, so I'm just gonna judge them.
I know there's a football team in the Basque Country that only have players from the Basque Country.
So they only like kick the ball with the left foot.
Yeah, they're all RH positive or negative, whatever one they're meant to be. And then they talk about how aliens themselves could be hybrids. Next time on the gift shop sketch, are aliens all hybrids?
Yeah, is this because they're like taking bits of us to keep them going or something?
Yeah. Which they get into in more depth later on.
They do, yeah.
But we get our next location.
Baltimore, Maryland, 2018.
Yeah, it kind of bugged me a bit. They always said like 2018, not 2018. They said it every time, and I was like,
I feel like I thought 2018 was the right way of saying it.
I think I've noticed you saying it before. I've been like,
that's how I think 2018 felt more American to me.
Yeah, but you don't say like, you say like 1918.
Yes, but when it was the year 2000, you said the year 2000. You didn't say the year 2000.
Yeah, because we couldn't then. We couldn't say 2001. That would be weird.
Why does it change?
But like, if we've had like 1918, we should say 2018.
Yeah, but what did they say in
1901?
Yeah,
well, we've got 2 zeros in the middle, which throws us off.
Okay,
we haven't really had to deal with this.
That's what I mean. We were still dealing with it.
11th century.
Yeah, and who knows what's going on there? Well, we do know.
It was the Battle of Hastings.
Aliens. You're on the wrong. You're in the wrong mindset, Lewis.
No,
it's aliens.
No. Let me finish my train of thought.
The Battle of Hastings.
Battle of Hastings was won as William of Normandy was an alien hybrid.
We both know a lot about that, and we both know aliens. Sorry, aliens. I don't know why I did this.
Ali Ends. You know my mate Ali. Ali Ends.
He's like Ali G.
Yeah, Ali Ends. So yeah, they're in Baltimore, and I quite like they're at
Sorry, Alien Con.
They're at Alien Con, and 3 of the people.
I was thinking this is a real Alien Con here. How much do they have to pay for the tickets?
3 of the talking heads are guest speakers on stage.
David Byrne's there doing his dance,
and yeah, they're talking about They've
That was a good joke.
if you say so. They've been coming for thousands of years.
What's the alien con? How long's it been running?
Thousands of years. I thought I was quite clear there.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, then they ask the audience, like, put your hands up if you've ever had a weird experience where, I don't know, there's someone in the room or you see something.
They say loads of stuff.
Yeah, and they're like, put your hands up. And then like 60% of the room put their hands up. And it's like, of course you got the fucking nutters that go to Alien Con.
That's what I've written here. And the guy's like, it's the British guy with the grey hair. He's like, wow, that is staggering. And I'm like, you don't seem impressed by this. It's your life's work. Why are you not impressed by this?
Yeah, and then
they're literally preaching to the choir. Like,
yeah,
do you think they're gonna have people going?
Imagine going to one of those like mega churches in America and go, put your hands up if you believe in God. Oh wow, so many of you.
Oh wow, that is staggering.
And then some of the audience members tell their stories, and I didn't really write any of them down because they're bored, except the one guy who had his sperm extracted.
He was like, I was a kid and they were down there and then maybe they were extracting sperm. Like maybe you had a wet dream.
Yeah.
Did you not see the woman who looked like a complete crackpot at the end who said, the reptilian visits me on a daily basis?
Yeah. Oh yeah, and one of them says that the alien used to visit all the time, but then she found out she was infertile, so the aliens.
That's the same woman, the reptilian.
Oh.
Yeah, and then we get the old journalist woman, and she's like talking to the camera, and she's like, we have people all over the place, and maybe some of them aren't human who are walking around us.
Yes.
And we keep getting these stock footage of crowds, you know, when you see them walking, like, it's the same one that's in every kind of documentary, basically.
And we're introduced to Barbara Lamb, who's like a psychologist.
Barb Lamb.
And she basically talks to people who have been abducted.
Yeah, it's regression therapy, isn't it?
And one of them, Robert Fullington, had an experience. He lost lots of weight after his abduction.
Yeah, well, he doesn't know he was abducted at first. He just lost lots of weight.
Yeah.
And he went, why could this be?
Maybe he had worms.
Alien worms.
Obviously.
Maybe he'd been hitting the gym and he'd been eating really healthy. He just didn't understand why he lost so much weight. He thought, I have to get a con artist called Barbara Lamb to try.
To be honest, I thought this bit was hilarious. So he goes to see her for one of their sessions, and she's like, lay down on the chair, get super relaxed. He like puts his head down and eyes shut. It's like super relaxed. It looks like he's falling asleep. It's just his mouth's like half open. And she's like, what do you see? He's like, people laying in lines.
Yeah, she's literally, I know it cuts like a lot of the process, I imagine, but she's literally just like, she's just like, relax. And he's like, okay, I'm relaxed. It's like, that wouldn't relax me if someone was just telling me to relax.
And then he's like, oh, I think they're extracting DNA from my stomach. And I was like, what? Like,
that's not what some people say.
It really feels like some DNA is coming out of me right now. Like,
I don't want to know about that, Lewis.
Like, if someone put something into my stomach, I wouldn't be like, oh, they're taking my DNA.
No, he's obviously he wants to think that. He's just making up. Yeah, and he's
deoxyribonucleic acid. Thank you, year 9 science.
He says he had just to go back a tiny bit, he says he has strange experiences while he slept. And he has like blips of interactions. It just sounds like he's fallen asleep watching the X-Files too many times.
I mean, and he's fallen asleep on the chair as well.
Exactly. And then we get the 2019 regression session, which I've written is a good name for a band.
Regression session.
Which is when, she's telling him to relax. And Barbara's talking about the aliens and she says, some of them seem to be very scientific. As if she knows anything about these made-up aliens.
Yeah. And then
they say, is this to benefit us, them, or both?
God. I think it's around now that I started to lose patience with these people.
Yeah, I was looking. I had a perfectly legal HBO Max stream open, watching it, and unfortunately, it didn't minimize the bar at the bottom, so I could see exactly how long I had,
Oh,
and I was looking at it quite
often when we watch this stuff, I purposely keep that bottom bar open so I can see how much more I've got to put myself
Okay,
through.
I normally don't do that, so I can just.
I literally keep my mouse hovered over the pause button so I can see.
And I just get into it. I mean, I did have to keep pausing it to write down all the stupid things they were saying, but we've got some good ones coming up, I think. We've got to get through some kind of crap ones about Neanderthals again. But after that, we've got a fun one about a downed aircraft. Aircraft!
Berkeley, California, 2013. And then,
You're just hyped up for that.
Yeah, it kind of threw me off where I was with my notes.
They say 1.5 to 2.1% of modern Africans can be traced to Neanderthals.
I thought it said 2% of non-Africans.
Modern Africans, I think.
Oh, okay.
So, but basically, it's kind of statistics that we know that most regions have a percentage of.
Yeah, it's like Homo sapiens and Neanderthals. Like, yeah, they fucked. We know that.
They fucked big time. Have you seen them? They were built like a fridge, according to Giorgio.
Yeah, this is the bit where they talk about their bigger brains are much stronger.
It's not the only things that were bigger, according to Giorgio.
And they put flowers on graves. Although you say that, and like gorillas have tiny dicks.
Yeah, I thought you meant about the flowers. You just.
I read a thing about how like King Kong, if he was 25 foot tall, he'd have like a 7-inch dick.
Wow.
So like,
so it'd be perfect for Anne, whatever she's called.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
That explains it. Wow.
I imagine she'd have to be on top. But
yeah, I mean the pure force of the thrust would probably I'm not gonna say anything more.
So you can see why fucking gorillas work out all the time, because they're so frustrated with their tiny dicks.
They're so overcompensating. It's like the gym bro of the animal world.
Yeah.
Like maybe if I work out loads, my dick will get bigger, or at least it won't. But the thing is, the more you work out, the smaller your dick will seem compared to your giant muscles.
Yeah.
Oh god.
There's
the clip for this week. I don't know what video I'm going to put. With that.
King Kong, definitely not King Dong.
I'll edit that background.
Okay. They talk about how extraterrestrials favored humans because they were more similar or had more favorable parts.
This is now an alien dick podcast.
Yeah. Welcome to the Alien Dick Boys.
What was that? Is that being Dick Boys? Electric Dick Boys. When we were going to do a book club for Do Androids Dream of Electric. The group chat I made was called Electric Dick Boys.
And I was the only one that read the book.
Philip K. Dick, Electric Sheep, there is something there.
Yeah, and they're like, is this still going on? Why?
There's a lot of that. Why? What made the difference here? Extraterrestrials, he says.
Yeah, and they're like, they're dying. So they want part of humans in themselves. And I was like, that's the plot of the Predator movies.
They also say, is this mere speculation? And I've written, yes.
Like, in Predator, we find out that they go to different places because in the new one, they kidnap the kid because he's autistic.
Yeah, but that's that's pretty much it.
And I was like,
that's not the plot for all of the Predator films.
No,
it's just
but
the new one.
New one.
Speaking of Predator, did you see about the new one that's been announced?
No,
it's gonna be in kind of pre-colonial North America.
I did hear about that actually. That sounds fun.
And it's like a Native American woman who's kind of doing a bit like I guess kind of like Revenant mixed with what's the one where the Aztec people are like running? Apocalypto.
Right.
I've not seen it, but there's like it's intense kind of
yeah. Have you ever seen Westworld, the film?
Yes. Oh no. I've seen the episode of Westworld where it's all about the Native American guy and all the rest of Westworld.
The film that came out in the 70s was very like cowboy town, and there was this one guy turning up who was like a monster.
Yeah,
very kind of
a
that
monster. Where he's a robot.
Yeah,
but he's like gone wild.
Yeah. Essentially.
Robots gone wild.
Robots gone wild. It kind of gives you that kind of vibe.
That's my favorite website.
Yeah, and then they talk about how evidence
I
can
go
be...
to it much more than King Dong.
Well,
Oh.
Paul King Kong.
Lewis's Reddit name is King Dong. He wants the extra views.
Hey, visit username King Dong. I bet there is some guy. Hey, if you're King Dong,
I was gonna search for it, but I don't really want that on my. Should we do hashtag King Dong?
Hashtag King Dong.
Hashtag King Dong.
What?
No, Dong. Not King Dong.
Yeah.
Okay, carry on.
So more
So
like
there
peasant Dong.
Uh,
then we get a new location, basically.
Yeah, which is Rendlesham Forest, Suffolk, UK, 1982.
Yeah, said like that. He changed his voice for some reason a little bit. And there's it's a glowing craft near an American airbase in Suffolk.
Well, there's two guys called from the air. So it's a RAF base, which is loaned to the US Air Force.
At first, I was like, is this going to do that Project Blue Book episode we watched?
Yeah, you know what? It felt very
it's kind of similar.
Because in that, remember I was talking about there was a a UK incident in the months afterwards. Because
maybe it was this.
No, because it's 1980.
Yeah.
And that was 1950s, mid 50s, early 60s. But yeah, it's a possible down aircraft, and they're called over basically these two.
This whole bit was so.
I
silly.
love this. This is my favorite bit.
This is the most nonsense.
I you know what? I should have looked into it because I really, what you read, I'll look.
So these two soldiers have gone out to find this glowing craft has crashed. They go to find it, and they find like a triangular craft, almost as if like a plane. You looked at its belly.
Almost like it's a plane.
And there's an inscription on this triangular craft, and one of them touches it, and because everyone's hybrid, he gets.
Is that what they're implying there?
Yeah,
right, okay,
he gets a telepathic download of all these ones and zeros.
Yeah.
Which reminds me of Futurama a bit with Bender with a 1100 or 1100.
Yeah, with the time travel thing. Yeah.
And they're like, cool. He somehow he downloaded all this to his head. He wrote it all down.
He had a police notebook, they said.
And years later, a programmer put this stuff into a computer, and it turns out these ones and zeros translated in binary to a message.
Yeah. Do you have the message? I've got it.
The message read, exploration of humanity continuous for planetary advance. Eyes of your eyes. Origin year 8100.
Wow.
And it had a bunch of longitude and latitude.
Yeah, and it was stuff
which lined up with
like the pyramids
and like ancient alien
Temple
civilization
of Apollo,
places. Yeah.
Nazca Lines, Sedona.
And they're like, okay, this is aliens. Is this time travel as well?
I can't find anything about this part of it.
I reckon it's bullshit.
I think they made up the part about where you touch the thing.
I reckon it's bullshit. The fact that all this stuff that I've just said is so nonsensical.
There's
there's
downed aircraft stuff and like looking for radiation and stuff.
Yeah.
But that bit about the touching thing is just not on.
He touched it, got a bunch of ones and zeros that happened to translate into
I thought if that
message
that
makes
was,
sense.
I was quite excited because I quite like the X-Files, and that felt very much like an X-Files episode.
It felt very Blue Book as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was like, wow. And then they talk about the year 8100.
8100.
So it's not 8100 then.
Oh god, here we go again.
I baited you there, didn't I?
Yeah, the longitude and latitude.
But they basically say maybe it's not just space, but time travel.
Yes, and then they theorize that these aliens that are coming and messing with us are actually future humans who have evolved and going back in time to tweak us so that we don't also
tweak us.
Tweak our DNA.
Tweak our nipples.
All that. They're coming back to change humans to save humanity.
Yeah. In the future. Yeah. Or save us now. Save us now for then.
Yeah.
I mean, I quite like this idea. I think in theory, this is probably the most believable kind of theory.
Yeah, you
for...
get similar. There's that South Park episode where people come from the future because there's no jobs in the future.
Yeah. That's like the jobs, my jobs.
Yeah, and there's also Tenet, which is people from the future who are going to destroy the past.
Yeah, well, it's like destroy everything, isn't it? I don't know. I've only seen it once, but yeah. It's not original at all. But I think if it was concrete proof of stuff like this, it would make sense if it was us doing it.
Yeah, it's quite a cool sci-fi.
And
idea.
if it was stuff that
that
we can't do now, it would make sense if it was stuff we could do in the future.
Yeah.
Because as we know, like, well, there's not much going on in our area of the world. Space. Space. So yeah, I can see why people leap to like, oh, it must be from us.
Yeah.
Or like there's the whole thing of like an undersea Atlantis civilization. It's like,
yeah,
it would make sense.
I kind of feel like the aliens being us in the future is almost a bigger deal than us being alien hybrids.
Yeah, totally. They gloss over it because it's not the topic of the episode.
Yeah,
like,
maybe it's the next episode. But then we get our final location.
Oh, this is the worst one of the not the place.
Oh.
Okay, go ahead.
Beijing, China, 2017.
That was the worst one, but no, the thing that's terrible about
Beijing
this
was quite nice.
is because they talk about Stephen Hawking is at a conference,
Yeah,
and he says that we need to leave planet Earth as soon as possible, or we need to find a way to leave it to.
And they have like
a
news article that says in the next 600
years.
years.
And then they move on to something. This is the most tenuous link to reality they have in the whole thing. They flash it up and then they move on to stuff which is completely unrelated. And it just felt like they had 5 minutes to go and they had to throw something in.
It felt like towards the end, I was like, oh, this is the end. And then they squeeze in this bit.
Yeah,
I was like,
I mean.
Whoa, what the hell? There's literally a minute left of the show.
And they're basically saying that we are potentially being genetically altered to live on another planet. And before I realised what Giorgio A. Tsoukalos his name was, I wrote that Chandler says that everyone is already a hybrid.
Yeah. Before that, though, before he says everyone's a hybrid, one of them, or maybe the narrator, says ancient astronaut theorists believe that 15 to 30% of humans are hybrids. And I was like, where the fuck did they get that number
I know.
from?
All of this is pulled out of his arse, basically.
Yeah.
He is the guy. He's one of those people where he's like, there's a whole community of us that believe this. It's like, no, it's you and one other guy. You take money from people.
It's like, oh yeah, we're the Ancient Aliens Club. It's like, yeah, it's you and your sock puppet.
That would be great. He's like, here, everyone's just left the show and he's just got sock puppets. Hello,
one of them with big crazy hair.
No, he's still there with his hair.
Hi, I'm Nick Redfern.
I believe.
And yeah, that's
well, we get like a finish of the it's basically a recap of all the questions that were asked in the intro, and they don't really answer it except by saying that we are going to be prepared to join our alien ancestors in the future of the stars, in the not so distant future. And it's very like, if you believe in aliens, hold out, don't kill yourself yet, because there are aliens coming to get you.
They're the sort of people that's like, it's impossible to disprove, because any response you have is, yeah, but aliens.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's literally this show, isn't it? It's but aliens, the show.
You should watch this video I found of the ancient aliens history of Earth.
Oh yeah, I would like to.
It's actually quite enjoyable, because I already knew about the hybrid thing from watching that.
Okay,
I was okay. This is the episode where they talk about that.
Yeah. Well, one of many episodes. As we said, like, the second kind of half of this is pretty much reused stuff, isn't it? And there's a couple of seasons on Netflix. They don't specify which seasons they are.
I'm pretty sure the whole like ancient like mythology is aliens.
They do that. That's the whole thing, basically. It's mostly that because it's ancient aliens. I think they only recently, I say recently, probably in the last 12 seasons, you know what I mean? So, but originally I think it was mostly about the kind of Sumerians and that sort of stuff. And then there's episodes on Netflix where they talk about like oh, there's some cowboys that found a thing, and then they literally talk about cowboys versus aliens for like 20 minutes, and they've licensed clips from the show,
Oh
the
gosh,
the
the
movie,
film.
and they're like, if this was in a TV show, like, why am I obsessed with it being? This was in a film, maybe it could be reality, and it's literally what we're saying. No, just because something's been made on, just because you look at it
Yeah.
on a screen.
There was a guy who on YouTube who in the first few seasons of Ancient Aliens
Yeah.
would make YouTube videos sort of like debunking them.
Oh,
And I think he
really?
gave up after like 3 seasons because they just kept on going and
He was
he
hoping
couldn't.
to shut them down.
But yeah, so that is Project Hybrid of Ancient Aliens.
That is the hybrid project from Ancient Aliens season
God,
14.
and do you know what? I thought it'd be quite fun, but it's so like all over the place and non-stop and fast-paced. It was like not as enjoyable as I was hoping.
I think I enjoyed talking back on it more than watching it 100%. But also that's because we spent a lot of time. I mean, we've talked for an hour about this now, and that's longer than the episode by a fair margin. But I think thinking about when I've watched it before, and I normally watch episodes in parts, and I say I watch it, I've probably seen about 3 episodes before, so I'm not like an avid consumer of it. But it is that kind of have other people in the room, have a bit of a chat. Oh, that's funny. They're talking about cowboys versus aliens.
Yeah.
And that's why that format works, because they recap so constantly.
Yeah.
And I think if you're trying to pay attention and you're trying to seriously take down the information, it is kind of intense, because it's that kind of, like I say, sensationalized notes. Like
I have got a friend, and you could probably guess which one, who did believe a lot of this stuff, mainly because of his ex, I think. But the whole aliens built the pyramids type shit.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people, I mean, it's one of those things I wouldn't say I entertain the idea, because I don't believe it, but I do enjoy this kind of thing.
I enjoy it when it's less like intense and like openly dumb. If it's just
There's
like,
some other
hey, this would be a
shows-
cool idea, wouldn't it?
Well, or if this episode particularly, I think because it is a bit of a, it was almost like a clip show for this series.
Yeah.
There are other shows, and there's something called Project UFO something, which we haven't looked at, but we've considered doing episodes on, and that's a whole series. So especially if there's a good reception to this episode, we might use that as a kind of ongoing thing. There's shows like that, and like Unsolved Mysteries and stuff, which are like this, but like a little bit less like spoon-fed and kind of intolerable.
This definitely feels very like lowest common denominator.
Yeah, it does. And there's even stuff like, there's something called like Monsters and Myths or something, which is on Netflix, and it's very much like this, but it's talking about like, are dragons real and stuff. And even that I find like a little bit more palatable.
Yeah, see, I find interesting when they look at this stuff and being like, hey, isn't it weird that you think this? Maybe this is where it come from, like dinosaur bones and stuff like that. Then suddenly, like, taking that left turn and be like, it was aliens. It's just like, oh, you've lost me now.
But I think that's where the comedy comes from for me.
Yeah,
but
I think it's
when it's predictable, it's almost like, all right, 3, 2, and Ancient Aliens.
And I'm still not entirely sure if these talking heads believe what they're saying, or if they're just
it does stink of like,
it's
like I say, con artists, like Alien Con.
Who's that American guy who does the radio show that's just spouts nonsense all the time?
Joe Rogan.
No, not our good friend Joe Rogan.
Oh, sorry.
Alex
Jones.
Jones.
I mean, alien human hybrids is his catchphrase.
But like a lot of people say about Alex Jones, like, how much do you actually believe this, or how much do you know that he's got a market and he's making money of it?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of both for him, I think.
And I kind of get the same feeling with this, of like, obviously they're less offensive.
Like
than
we were
Alex
saying,
Jones.
we watched the trailer beforehand for just generic, late season episodes. And Giorgio, if you've seen, everyone's seen the meme where he's like, "Oh, aliens," but he plays into the role clearly.
Yeah,
he gets sunburn, I'm sure. He looks like,
lots of people get sunburned.
No. for the program. Or he's got like blush. He looks like he's been out in the sun.
He looks like he's windswept as well.
And his hair is so it's so swept up now. It used to be, I think maybe one day he came into the office, he'd had a bit too much to drink the last night, and he probably had a couple of joints on the way to work, and he looked like he'd fallen out of a hedge.
Yeah.
And they went, right, Giorgio, just get on. We don't have enough money to reshoot this. And everyone loved it, and the internet went crazy. And now he goes, and it's like the Boris Johnson thing. He ruffles his hair up before.
It's like a certain prime minister of some country.
So a certain one.
People say he ruffles up his hair before he goes on TV.
I don't know if there's footage of it. I think he'd probably but
there's
first-hand accounts of him literally, making himself look like the buffoon. It's like it's a trick, isn't it?
It's a common like advertising or propaganda technique to make yourself more relatable and more like the common man,
and that's
despite the fact that like he's Alexander the Faithful Boris Johnson.
Yeah, and it's the whole thing where your kind of sinister motives and undertone are kind of overlooked by like a buffoonish kind of character, and it's
look at me, I'm just making the poor die.
Exactly.
It's so silly.
And it's like even recently, we're going on a thing now, but there was footage of him in Parliament like pulling faces at the opposition, talking about like the war in Ukraine. It's like, why is this man running the country? I know that they probably about half the countries in the world could have similar opinions of their own leaders.
Yeah,
we're not unique in that, but it's just like fucking hell. Honestly.
He does seem particularly
incompetent,
like unprime ministerial.
Yeah, there's nothing ministerial
I
about
didn't
him.
like Theresa May or David Cameron.
No, but at least they conducted themselves.
They acted like a prime minister.
Yeah. It's the era of Donald Trump, and
and you get Bolsonaro in Brazil as well.
Yeah,
I worked with a couple of Brazilians, and they're just like, country's a fucking joke.
Yeah.
Anyway,
if anyone's got a couple of visas going, for both friends and family of the pod, that would be fantastic.
To where?
Anywhere.
Who's got a normal leader?
I mean,
the New Zealand Prime Minister.
Yeah, they're
cool.
pretty tight on visas. But if anyone from New Zealand has any ins, I'd love to visit. I've heard
maybe not Australia because they get a new Prime Minister every 5 months because the last one's batshit insane.
Yeah, I mean their podcasting scene's pretty good though.
Yeah.
We could be like the outsiders in the old Melbourne.
Oh, look at those British people coming over here. Tally-ho.
What?
What was that? I'm just thinking what they might think of us if we went to Australia.
Okay, because you were saying it as if you were an Australian, so that was a little bit confusing. Because you. Anyway, we'll move past that, and I definitely won't clip that and use that for promotion.
Do you have any trivia? I do not.
No, I don't. No,
I tried to look up stuff for this episode specifically and couldn't really find anything.
To be honest, I don't want to sound like I've kind of relaxed on the whole preparation front, but if anyone's been listening through, they've noticed that I haven't actually had any trivia for about 10 or so episodes.
Yeah, Sam, it's hard to say you've relaxed on the preparation front when
I watched
he's pointing his finger at me, guys.
I was thinking about it today. I watched whole behind the scenes documentary.
You did actually.
In the first few episodes, I spent more time on the trivia than on the actual films.
Yeah.
And I don't really know why that was, because a lot of these films aren't worth the 45 minutes that we talk about them.
No.
And there's the truth.
There's the truth. So, do you want to give it a rating?
Yeah, I haven't given this any thought.
We could give it both episode and the whole series. We're not going to watch any more Ancient Aliens.
So just one then.
Just like
one rating for kind of the whole experience.
The whole experience. Yeah.
All right, let me. You talk and I'll think.
Whenever you say you talk with it, I'm like, oh, talk, but you're clearly not listening.
Yeah, because I'm thinking.
I think I'm gonna give this like
I've got a note in my pocket. The note says, don't worry.
He has literally pulled a piece of paper out of his pocket.
It's actually my rating. I'll tell you after you.
Okay. So I'm gonna give it a 4. Like it was a
wow. Okay.
I thought I was gonna get into it a bit more. It had. I think, as you said, if you're laid back and watching it with a friend, it could be quite enjoyable. But I wasn't, so I just got I lost my patience with it, and I was like, "This is all just dumb." And it's like, "Oh, this is aliens," and
but aliens.
Yeah, so it's hard to kind of rate, but I'm gonna give it a 4.
Yeah, I think. Well, my note in my pocket says receipt for, and it's got what it's for, so I won't read that out. But my thoughts on this are similar to yours. I don't think I judged it quite as harshly. I didn't. I quite enjoyed a lot of the stupidness in it, to be honest. I think I probably go. If we're doing the experience of watching this, if I don't think about like the fun that I've had watching it before, I
Yeah.
think like probably a 5.
Okay.
Because I think
it is hard to rate because it's such a weird thing. It's hard to separate like the fact that all these people are batshit insane with the actual viewing quality and
it's also like we say having to
but
make notes and kind of
and it's the fact that like
it's a weird way of
45
watching
minutes
something.
and 2/3 of it is just images flashed on the screen. That doesn't make a good TV show. Like, come on.
I mean, it doesn't make a quality TV show. I think some of the episodes I've watched on Netflix, I think have enjoyed. I mean, maybe it's the situation, but like closer to a 7, I would say. It's not quality TV, but I've enjoyed it. Whereas this specific episode and the experience that I had was, I think closer to like a 5. Although, as I said, like talking about it now, I think we've drawn out more of it than was there.
Yeah, but we drew a lot out of some real shit.
We have, and that's kind of the point of this whole thing, isn't it? Really. So.
But yeah, that is Ancient Aliens, Project
Hybrids.
And now it's time for
Personal Projects.
It's personal
projects.
I don't know if I was going into that too early then. I was
no,
like,
that's perfect.
Ready?
Yeah, I mean, I think in previous times when I've just jumped in, I think it threw it off before, maybe.
Right.
So I'm quite
We've
happy
now
to
got
do
a habit of talking about it every week
Yeah,
as well.
there's a little intro.
After the little, this time it's
Do
personal.
you have anything ready, or shall I?
Oh yeah, I've got a couple of bits. So it's episode 3 of Gilmore Boys.
Gilmore Boys.
I'm not gonna say too much, but I'm still watching. I haven't watched much else because I've been watching Gilmore Girls. Still really good.
I got very confused when you said Gilmore Girls then, because I thought it's called Gilmore Boys.
No, we're the Gilmore Boys.
Yeah, okay. So if we do create the Gilmore Boys, these are kind of the pilot episodes, these personal projects.
If you've enjoyed me talking about Gilmore Girls, please let us know, because I would love to do a spin-off.
I mean, should we do one where I don't watch it and you just tell me what's happening?
Well, Gilmore Girls. Here's what happened in Gilmore
And
Girls so
it's
far.
just you telling me, and I'm just sitting there silently. And occasionally I go, wait, which one's Laurie? Is that one of them?
Lorelai.
Which one's Lorelai? Oh,
mum.
the mum. And which one's
Rory?
Lauralee and Rory.
Actually, there was a good bit.
You know who's in it? Milo Ventimiglia. He is Peter from Peter Petrelli from Heroes.
He got introduced a few episodes ago.
Yeah,
he's
I like
a bit
him.
of a knob.
Oh no, I mean
he's
I like
got
him.
the hots for Rory. I haven't got to.
What's he called? Jesse.
Jesse, yeah, or Jess.
I know so much about things.
But there was a bit that Christine was like, "You love this because Rory's,
she's already knows what's going on.
Rory's dad turned up, Christopher, and he's got this new Volvo, and Lorelai gets into it, and he turns on the radio and it goes, Du hast to me. And I was like, oh my God, I love that song.
I was talking about Rammstein today. That's weird. The guy at my work who said he liked Tool, I was like, I always associate Tool with Rammstein, but I think that's just because we had a friend at uni that liked both of them.
Yes. And I love Rammstein, and I don't really like Tool.
No. This guy was talking a lot about Tool.
Tool fans
ever
talk about Tool.
He was like,
our friend from uni talked about Tool all the fucking time.
Yeah, he was saying it was really. I feel bad talking about someone, but he won't listen to this. But he might listen to. He said it's very like. I was like, is it very technical? Because that's what people talk about. He was like, yeah, it's really precise. It talks about spirituality a lot. And he was like, I've got into spirituality recently, and I was like, cool. Like, I don't really know what to say, to be honest.
I gave Tool a good go because it is kind of my type of music.
Even with certain King Gizzard albums that have come out, people in the community talk like, oh, this is a bit like a Tool kind of thing. And I don't really have the comparison, but.
And also, like, they finally released an album a few years ago, and every song was like 10 minutes, and I'm like, that's not any introduction. And I listened to a couple of them, and I'm like,
what kind
boring.
of is it? Kind of metally?
Yeah, it's very like it's not like heavy metal. It's very like technical metal.
Yeah.
Rammstein's not a terrible comparison, but less like industrial and more guitar led than Rammstein.
Okay, yeah. No, I mean, I'm open to whatever really, but it's just not. It's that kind of thing. I've heard people say like Tool fans are unbearable, basically.
It's like prog metal.
Yeah, prog metal. Yeah, okay, yeah.
But yeah, people who love Tool love Tool.
yeah. I mean, that's the thing. This guy, he was perfectly nice guy, and I'd only met him like once briefly before.
I remember our friend from uni that loved Tool, we finally got him to put on another band that wasn't Tool.
Yeah.
And it was the lead singer's like side gig.
Yeah, good times.
But yeah, less Tool.
Anyway, yeah.
I've got another thing, but you go ahead.
Yeah, well, I watched a film on Disney Plus.
Was it Toy Story?
It wasn't.
Was it Star Wars: The Force Awakens?
No, is there things that you've watched?
Was it
you
Edward Scissorhands?
You won't guess it.
Okay. Was it The Simpsons?
The movie?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
It was a new film that came out very recently.
Independence Day 2.
No, starring Daisy Edgar Jones and the in something Sebastian Stan. I was going to say indubitable Sebastian Stan. What does indubitable mean? Anyway, Sebastian Stan's in it. And it is, I won't spoil much for it, but it's called Fresh. And it is, I would say it's listed as a thriller, but I think that's just to avoid spoilers. I would say it's a horror film.
Right.
It starts with them having a bit of a meet cute and going on some dates, and things go very sideways and it gets quite horrific. And it's really good. And it's quite gross. And I don't know if you would like it because I know that you don't like scary things. It's not scary, but it makes you feel very uncomfortable.
Yeah. And
Sebastian Stan is very likable throughout because he's very charismatic. But it's one of those things where maybe he shouldn't be as likable as he is based on his character in that.
So Fresh.
Yeah. If you look up anything about it, it kind of starts spoiling it a little bit. The description is like Daisy Edgar Jones has to deal with her boyfriend's unusual tastes. And it's like, yeah, okay, there's something weird
from your description. Did you ever see Raw?
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, it's that kind
of gives me that kind of. I was talking about Raw today at work. And I'm like, Raw is really good.
Raw is
absolutely
really
horrifying.
It's like a French horror film from like 2013
16,
or something.
I think.
Yeah. I watched that. Me and Amy watched that when we hadn't been seeing each other for very long, and it was one of those films we kind of finished and we were both like, oh, it makes your skin crawl.
You become aware of your skin.
That's a kind of.
So is it that kind of ballpark?
Yeah.
Right,
it's not as kind of. I wouldn't say it's quite as visceral as that in terms of visual, but it's. I thought it was going to be more of a kind of dark comedy thing about maybe someone's a bit dodgy, maybe someone's a serial killer, but very quickly you kind of see it's gone more in that raw direction. But I would really recommend it.
Nice. And it's on Disney Plus, weirdly.
So it was a Fox.
Is it on Star?
So it's a Fox Searchlight picture or whatever. So I think it was probably filmed and produced before the merger.
Just before the takeover, yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah. What else have you been watching?
So
reading?
I've been playing a game.
Ooh, the one thing I didn't say.
Yeah, it's a game that Christina had years ago on her laptop, and I found out it was on the PlayStation Store for $5.
Oh, nice.
The Talos Principle.
It's a puzzle game, a bit like Portal, is it? You never played Portal.
I'm aware of Portal, but it's similar sort of,
like physics puzzles kind of thing. Yeah.
And it's kind of got an ongoing backstory about like AI and God and things like that.
I think I played a demo maybe when it came out.
It is really good though. It's like a lot of it's like, oh, you need to get to the piece, or you need to connect the lights, so you need to avoid the guns and stuff. And it is good fun. Like I played it through before years ago.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's got it for PlayStation because I've had an urge to play it recently.
Yeah.
Started playing it, and Christina was like, immediately I know how to do all these puzzles.
Oh, because it just stays. Yeah.
Fortunately, I don't.
Okay.
So I'm like, this is great because I know where the plot goes. Obviously, I say plot. It's very It's puzzles, but there is a plot and there's a whole backstory.
Nice.
but there is, so Christina's stepmom
Yeah.
also played it and was constantly recommending the expansion pack, Road to Gehenna,
Right. Okay.
which we never got around to playing. But when we
Yeah.
got the PlayStation, it came with Road to Gehenna.
Oh, nice! Like a game of the year kind of best of.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I'm going to play through it, and then I'm going to play Road to Gehenna, which will be good fun because
is it a long game? I imagine those are
not
kind of
particularly
shortish normally.
So like there's 3 worlds and then like a final thing.
Nice.
I played it for like 4 or 5 hours and finished the first world.
Okay, cool.
So you
like
could get it
15 or so hours kind of gameplay potentially.
Especially
yeah.
like obviously they get harder, but your skill set you don't improve your stats, but you know how to do stuff better.
Are you a robot?
Yeah.
I thought I do remember I've either played the demo or I've watched some gameplay early on.
And it's not quite clear at the start who you are, what you are, if you're real or not.
Spoilers. It's a shame it wasn't called the Talos Project, eh?
Yeah, that would have been great. But yeah, it's good fun and I'm enjoying playing it.
Oh, that's good. It's nice to get into.
And it was a 5 on PlayStation.
Did you finish Miles Morales in the end?
Yeah, I finished it. I haven't 100%ed it.
No.
But did finish the story.
Cool.
Have you played it?
No, I haven't played it.
Okay, I was going to give you a big spoiler.
I was going to wait. I think I'm going to wait till I get a PS5 because I've heard good stuff about it running on a PS5.
Yeah, it's not the longest game though, so I wouldn't be too concerned.
I might. Yeah, I might. I see. If it's really on sale, I might get it on PS4 because at the moment, I mean, I'm not planning on getting a PS5 any soon.
When I finished Talos, I saw that Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is like a 10 on the PlayStation Store now. And I've been wanting to play that for years.
I played a decent amount. It's very difficult. It's like a Dark Souls kind of thing.
I'll put it on easy.
But it doesn't. Yeah, there's not much difference with that.
Yeah,
but I might not even have a difficulty.
I've kind of wanted to play it for a while. So
yeah,
that's
it's really
my next step after Talos.
I played. There's a. There's a website where you can kind of get like slightly illegal copies of digital games.
Unlike Steam, a lot.
Like you basically get keys kind of thing. But the way it works with PlayStation games is you kind of like almost rent them by logging into a different account. It's very, very sus. And I did that with it. It was like
log in with your HBMO.
Yeah, it was like 15 quid, and it was like log in with it, and you get the game. And then eventually it stopped working, and I couldn't get a refund. So I was like, well, I just won't play it. But I spent 15 quid to play most of the game. So it was like, but it was good. Yeah, I think you'd really enjoy it.
Cool. I've
got one last bit. Just as I said before, to prepare for Moon Knight, I've been looking at kind of essential comics, and I read last night the first 2 chapters where Moon Knight is introduced in 1975's Werewolf by Night.
Oh, nice.
So it's in the middle of a run, Werewolf by Night, whose name is Jack Russell. So I don't know if they'll keep that when he comes into the MCU, but his name is Jack Russell. He is a werewolf at night, as you can imagine. His family all know he's a werewolf. He's got like 4 members of his family. He's got a stepdad. He's got like 3 sisters and a girlfriend, all live in this house. Very weird.
Are any of them called Edward Cullen?
No. One of them is called Jacob Cullen. What's he called? I don't know his surname.
Christina's been watching the Twilight films.
Yeah, no, I've seen videos about them recently.
But yeah, carry on.
And he basically gets approached by Moon Knight, who is Mark Spector, which is the name he's carried on with, but has been hired by some group, and he, instead of being white, he's got silver weapons. So he looks the same on the page, but he's like meant as like an anti-werewolf fighter.
Right.
And they keep being like, the language is really weird. It's like, it's written very dramatically, and it's like, and he pulled out a cestus, which is gladiators' gloves, and they have it's very dramatic kind of writing, but effectively they have a big fight, and he tries to capture the werewolf, and he's unsuccessful. And I guess they then spin him off into his own thing. There's no mention of the Egyptian god stuff at all.
That's interesting.
He looks kind of different. He looks really dumb, to be honest. But I just thought I'll start with that. And I did read a lot of stuff recently, but in the next week or so, I'm gonna fill my brain with Moon Knight so I can be those annoying people online that go, actually, Stephen Grant is actually this alter ego, and it's not the one who does this, and the one who drives the car is called this.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of the main pieces are there, so that's interesting stuff.
Cool. Nice.
Cool.
So that is the show.
That is the show. So thank you very much for listening to
It's-
us talk.
It's been a pleasure having you.
It has been a pleasure.
If you also think it's a pleasure, then you can do us a huge favor by giving us 5 stars on your podcast listening
You
app.
can indeed.
Does help the show.
Yeah.
Or you can talk to us more directly if you have a particular fascination with ancient aliens.
Yeah.
You can message us.
That's it. If you've had, via all sorts of channels,
All
but
sorts.
specifically, you can send us a Gmail or an email, electronic
if you don't have
mail,
Google.
at the projectpod@gmail.com. So you can send us something if you've had some contact with aliens. If you're one of the 60% of people who put their hands up at the con, which is Alien Con, you can contact us. If you're one of the people on Ancient Aliens, you can, send us a cease and desist order to remove this episode.
I'd love it.
We will absolutely ignore that and make a big deal about it.
We could get onto the news with that.
It would be fantastic.
That would be like
If-
such a huge advertising point for this show.
If you are Giorgio A. Tsoukas, or whatever he's called, then please do contact us. Tell us what product you use for your hair. And if Boris Johnson has contacted you about hairstyling techniques, that'd be fantastic. If you don't have an email account for some reason and you'd like to contact us, you're very welcome to look in the link tree for all our social medias, or you can search the Project or the Project Pod on virtually every search bar on the internet, and it will come up. Apart
even
from
Bing,
particularly
Chandler Bing.
But
Hey, it all comes in.
back, and I think that's a good point to end this episode.
Yes,
So thank you very much for listening,
I will hear you next week.
and I'll see you in the year 8001. Was it 8001?
It's 8,100.
8100.
That's better. Bye.
Bye, bong.
Ali ends in the house.
John the bong.